All right, welcome everyone to Perspectives. I am your guest host, Jim Spiritalozzi, filling in for Maddie P, your normal host. Don't worry, he'll be back at the very next session. We're going to get started with a little bit of an icebreaker. So if everybody who's listening in or joining as we get rolling can put in the chat that apparently today is National App Day. And that doesn't mean appetizer, although that's kind of where my mind went. It's phone apps, apparently. So put in the chat, what is your favorite phone app, the one you can't live without? And if you could include where you're coming from. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, but we'd love to see where people are and what are those favorite apps? Life 360, Starbucks. And we got some places, South Florida, Ohio, coming in fast and furious. Oh, Amazon. I'm using a lot of that Amazon app today. How about you, panelists? AccuWeather. Yeah, in New England, we need that. Colorado. We got quite an audience here from all over. I wonder if we have anyone international. I haven't seen. Oh, MyFitnessPal. Good for you. That's a good one. I think Oklahoma. Yeah, look at that. I'm not even supposed to be looking. Oh, there's a fellow Bostoner. Not supposed to be looking at the chat, but I can't resist all of your places and apps. I'm going to save those and use those as recommendations coming up. All right, so Rachel, should I keep going? Should I keep the vamp going, or should we just get started? This is recorded, right? So this is going to be recorded, so we're going to get started. In case you're late, don't worry about it. You'll be able to catch up. Let me announce, you can see them on the screen, our amazing panelists. First of all, Dr. Simone Alicia. Dr. Simone, also known as the Self-Esteem Doctor, is an internationally recognized authority on self-esteem, a renowned TV subject matter expert, and award-winning motivational speaker. Through her breakthrough methods and proven tools, Dr. Simone masterfully blends science and philosophy to ignite personal growth, measurable achievements, and lasting success in every audience she touches. Thank you for being here, Dr. Simone.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. Let's see. Who else do we have? We have Dr. Maricel Capellan. Dr. Maricel Capellan. Dr. Capellan is an award-winning educator, a TEDx speaker, an executive coach committed to advancing leadership through diversity, equity, and inclusion. As the founder of the Capellan Institute, she has worked with top global organizations, Google, Meta, Cisco, BlackRock, to develop leaders who drive both performance and belonging. Her doctoral research focuses on the experience of women in leadership roles, and her book, Leadership is a Responsibility, highlights her journey as a Black Hispanic woman in academia and the workplace. Thank you for being here and welcome, Dr. Capellan.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you. And last but certainly not least, Dante Roche. Did I get it right? All right, I'm nailing it. A passionate leadership coach and consultant dedicated to helping leaders and teams thrive by embracing growth, confidence, and clarity. As the founder of She Knows She Can and the owner of her namesake consultancy, Dante specializes in guiding individuals through career transitions, leadership challenges, and mindset shifts. Dante has conducted over 1,200 coaching sessions, helping leaders and professionals navigate complex workplace dynamics, improve communication, and set actionable goals. Thank you so much for being here, Dante.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
All right. Well, we're excited to have you all. Of course, I have to do a little bit of housekeeping. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar will be recorded for all of those who just can't get enough. You can watch this over and over again all weekend. We are going to do some Q&A. If you don't mind, you can write whatever you want in the chat, but if you want to make sure we answer your question or at least get a chance to, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Use that instead of chat for any questions you want the panelists to address. And lastly, stick around to the end because we have some bonus resources. We can get you the panelist contact information, a preview of next month's webinar, and also a couple of time-sensitive things. So if you're here at the end and you respond, there's going to be some things that you get access to that others won't. Sorry for those watching in the recorded session. All right. Let's see. A little bit of news going on out there. I mean, a lot of news these days. A lot of news these days. We pulled up a couple of headlines here for you that are more relevant to the theme of the new year and energy. And it seems that Wells Fargo, at least, is pretty excited about 2025. I don't know if you are in your business and in your life, but Wells Fargo, they're feeling pretty good. Now, in the HR space, apparently we all need to start looking at AI. I haven't heard of this AI stuff. Have you heard of AI? That seems like it's going to be important. And then there's another article here about setting easy goals. Actually, I like that idea because there's something about attaining your goals that feels good. So making sure that you have not just your stretch goals documented, but what are some things that can be quick wins that folks can feel really great about hitting. So lots of things going on in the news. But I would love to hear from our audience if I could. We're going to run a Menti. If you use the QR code on your screen or go into the chat, there should be a link. We're going to ask you a couple of questions to kind of get a flavor for what you all are facing coming into exiting 2024 and coming into 2025. So let's get started with, from the audience, tell us about an accomplishment, say that word, from 2024 that you're particularly proud of. And if you haven't used Menti, take out your phone, you click on the link. You can even click on the link right from your computer if you're coming in that way. And you can share with us some of your accomplishments. Oh, I love this. Mental health. Accomplish mental health. I love that. Any progress you can make toward feeling good about yourself. Renovating a house, physical work, or expensive work, either way. Mindset, new partnership, career growth, a whole new HRIS platform. Wow, good for you, good for your company. See some things coming in the chat as well. New job, congratulations, whoever that is. Confidence, still working on that one, but maybe someday we'll get there. Building and launching a new ATS for recruitment. Wow. Growing my faith, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, and here's my favorite one, implementing predictive index. That's actually where I work. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your confidence in us. Hopefully it goes well, but if it doesn't, let us know how we can help. Better boundaries. This is great. This is great. I believe this will be saved. I don't know if we share this as a resource afterwards, but this would be a great one, Rachel, to add to the kit that we send folks. But let's talk about 2025 or hear from you. Which of these statements best describes your 2025 goal setting progress? Okay, coming in hot. Some folks have a strong sense. There's some weight. It's almost 2025. I can check my clock. Yeah, it's December 11th. Better get started. Not a goal setter. All right. Well, hey, self-awareness is super important. Looks like the majority of our audience has at least a strong sense, or on the other one is just surprised that the year keeps turning. I live here in New England, right outside of Boston. I saw some of you folks in the chat, and every year we're surprised when it turns cold again and starts to snow, and that's when we know we better start planning for the next year. That's already happened for us, sadly, and many of us in the Northeast. All right. Well, I am super excited to start the conversation. I'd like to ground us just a bit, since this is the theme of our overall webinar, in this idea of talent optimization. Talent optimization is about people. It's about the people part of business. We all know, if we're in business, we have a business strategy. What are we trying to accomplish in 2025 or beyond? And then we have, associated with that strategy, what are the results? Now, these are often financial results. I love it when there's something bigger than just a financial result, like a PI. We truly believe we're making the world of work better, and therefore making the world better for the people in it. So we have different views of what results are, whether they're just dollars and cents or something a little bit bigger than that. And when we take that strategy and we want to deliver results, sometimes we forget that those results, those plans, don't execute themselves. It takes people. And that's the part in the middle of this framework. So in order to have the right people, we need to hire the right people. In order to have them on the best teams to accomplish their goals, we need to have intentional design of those teams. In order for those people to get up every day and do that hard work, they need to be inspired by leaders to do the hard work they're going to do every day. And all along the way, we need to diagnose our people challenges and make sure we're doing everything we can with this cycle to continuously address so that we can get to those results that we're looking for. That's what we call it, the predictive index talent optimization. That's just a bit of a frame for what we'll be talking about today. With that said, we're going to get into the meat of the conversation. I'm going to ask our panel some questions. I am going to call on one of the three of you, but jump in. Don't be shy. I sense that you're not. But let's get started with this question. We always talk about 5 optimal outcomes, which are performance, engagement, well-being, career growth, and impact. Which of these show up most often with your clients, and how do they talk about these? And if you don't mind, let's get started with Dr. Simone.
Oh, perfect. So I love this question because people are at the heart of the workplace, right? And you want to understand that well-being is so important to people, their mindset, how they actually feel, how they are showing up inside really affects how they perform on the outside. So I find that people are talking about well-being, they're talking about their performance, they want the peace, they want the clarity, and they want to feel victorious and successful. But what I'm hearing is that people tend to speak from a place of lack and what they don't have and what they don't want in that space. And that kind of sets them up not to receive and not to be able to perform and feel the well-being that they want. So that's what I'd have to say I'm hearing most often right now from my clients.
I love the word victorious. Such a beautiful word, so descriptive, and really does capture that spirit of what people want. Now I'm going to turn, please jump in, by the way, but I'm going to turn to Dante on the next question. Considering the unprecedented levels of burnout, overwork, and disengagement that not everyone, but many are seeing, it seems that many of us and our workforce are depleted. What are some ways that you think about recharging and restoring energy as a means of professional and personal success and happiness?
Yeah, I think for what I've seen with my clients is a lot of them, I too would agree that well-being is one of the things people are focusing on. And people aren't necessarily coming to me saying my well-being is suffering. I need help with my well-being, right? They're saying I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I'm depleted, right? I have nothing left. They just feel very stuck. And a lot of times, what I'm noticing is a common theme that could help a lot of my clients, both personally and professionally, is having stronger and clearer boundaries. And I think that's a great time of year at the end of the year to set a goal around having better boundaries for 2025. So is it that your boss expects you to respond to the email at 9 at night, or is that an expectation you put on yourself? Is it the expectation of your children that Christmas needs to be a magical winter wonderland, which is so awesome that, parents want to do that? But is it coming at a cost to your well-being? Is there a way that you can put boundaries around your well-being and really take care of yourself, both personally and professionally, all year round? But, towards the end of the year, we get overwhelmed by closing out the year, the holidays, and end of year stuff we have to do at work. And so are you saying yes to a lot of things you really want to be saying no to? And I think a lot of us are working on autopilot. We're not sitting there saying like, oh, I said yes, but I really wanted to say no. It's a knee-jerk response, and especially at work, it can be really challenging to say no. A lot of people, I don't even know that I'm allowed to say no. Am I allowed to say no? Am I allowed to log off exactly at 5? There's a lot of this sometimes spoken and sometimes unspoken expectations. And so helping them get clear on better boundaries for 2025 now is a great way to start that.
Thank you. I love the idea of the power of no. There's so much ability to set boundary, but just the basic simple, hey, I know you want me to do that, but I can't. So the answer is no. We talk about the idea of taking something off my plate if you want me to do it. A nice way to sort of say no is, well, I could say yes to that, but I'm going to have to say no to something else you've asked me to do. Which of these things would you like me to pick from?
Right.
Dr. Kapakian, I'd love to hear your voice here. How are you thinking about burnout with your clients?
So in terms of burnout, I always try to look at the internal causes of burnout, because sometimes we only tend to look at burnout in terms of like outputs. Like, I know I'm burned out because I'm very tired and not being able to following up on my commitments. But then what is the reason why you're not following up on your commitments? Like, let's not talk about the outcome, but is it because you've been stressed for a long period of time? Are you not respecting your own boundaries, or you're not focusing on the things that make you happy, like internally what's happening in your mind that is manifesting as burnout outside? So that is something that I feel like is very important, is to understand what are the root causes of burnout, and then let's create a plan so that we can stay in a healthy mindset. We are saying yes, just like Dante saying yes to the things that not only we have to do, but the things that bring us joy. So I do a very holistic approach to coaching and leadership development, because I do believe that we bring our whole self into work. And unless we have our internal clock healthy, we won't be able to go in and develop a healthy environment, even if that means, achieving goals and going after what you want. You have to look inside first, and then from there we can develop a plan.
I like that idea of looking inside for your internal causes. It kind of makes me think about, even just in business, we often focus on the lagging indicators, right? The sales results, and we don't look at the leading indicators, like, what is the need in the market that for the products or services that we're selling. So it kind of resonates with me as a go-to-market kind of focused person. Dr. Capahan, I hope you don't mind keeping it going. I have a question for you next. While it can be tempting to move on to 2025, I'm already doing it, to be honest. We should pause and look back at the year that was. What are some things that we should think about when reflecting on 2024?
I love that you asked me this question. Because when I saw that question, I really thought about patterns. We usually talk about the things that we did achieve or we didn't achieve in 2024, but I always ask my clients, what patterns did come up in your life over and over again? Because we are creatures of habit. And in the same way that we form habits about, a morning routine or a nighttime routine, we also form habits of self-sabotaging behaviors. We also form habits about the way that we respond to things, or the things that don't bring joy into our lives. And if I have a client, for example, that there was a pattern throughout 2024, that every time that she was given an opportunity to grow, she said self-sabotage those opportunities, then I want to look at those patterns again, to that specific pattern, see where the issue is so that we can fix it and she doesn't bring that pattern into 2025. And I think the more we start looking in our lives as patterns, we're able to make drastic changes and not just one thing. Like, it's not about, did I, as I'm reflecting in 2024, was I able to achieve my gym goals? But what patterns made you not achieve those goals? Like, what happened? What self-sabotaging behaviors did you engage in and out that maybe 2024 not optimal? And let's make sure we don't bring those patterns into 2025.
I like the idea of focusing on patterns and habits. I've heard it said that we often think we're going to reach the level of our goals, but we actually fall to the level of our habits.
Yeah.
I think that comes from Atomic Habits, the book. So I didn't make that up. I'd love to have Dr. Simone chime in on this question, if you don't mind. So how are you thinking about reflecting on 2024 when you're working with your clients?
I want to get into some tools. Is that okay to add
Please. Yeah.
Here? Yeah.
Let's do
So
that.
I actually love the idea. I love this quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza. He says that memories without pain is wisdom. And so when we look back, I like the idea of us looking back and not necessarily looking back in that place of like, oh, I failed and I didn't do well and like this didn't work out. I love what Dr. Capiana said when she said, we do want to see what those patterns are. I think that's beautiful. And we tend to have patterns of thought as well. So when you have these patterns of thinking like, okay, this is how I failed and I can't do this and I never do this and I'm never able to, and it's just not my thing, then we get really lost because we trap ourselves in bringing that pattern into the new year, like Dr. was saying. So I like to recommend that when we look back, number one, and document some wins, right? A lot of times we have these wins, we celebrate for 2 seconds, and then the failures, we're on it for like weeks and months and years, right? So I want us to spend more time milking the wins, document them, celebrate them, be happy about them, and remind your brain and your nervous system that this is something you're capable of, right? You start to wire the brain when you do this. We also have the ability to rewrite some of the past, like, okay, that situation didn't work out for me. If I was in that situation again, what would I do differently? Again, we're talking about programming the brain and priming the brain for new outcomes, new behaviors, new patterns. And finally, I would use a technique called effective blaming. So when something didn't go right and you're like, I can't stand that this happened, I can't stand, and this set me up for the worst 2024 ever, I kind of want you to take that blame and just keep on going until you find where like kind of the sun comes out, right? So you're like, I can't believe this person fired me. It's because of them I had to go for a new job, and it's because of them I have this awesome new job, and it's because of them I'm getting paid twice as much. Wait a second. Like that wasn't so
Hey.
bad after all, right? So you start with the blame and be honest, be truthful, but you take it all the way until what the positive present is that that situation may have taken you to. So those are 3 tips. Write them down, run the video back, because I want you guys to use them as you go into 2025. It's a game changer.
I love that. I love that, bringing the blame forward. Also, something you said when you started saying, "Oh, we never, we never, we never." I always like to point out, anyone saying we never or we always is probably lying, because there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that is a never or an always. It's always a
Right.
sometimes or quite often.
Right.
Uh, 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 Dante, would you mind chiming in on the same topic? I just think this is such an important topic. When you're thinking about 2024, thinking about the past, what tools do you bring to the table, or how do you think about reflecting?
Yeah, so thank you. I want to echo some of the things the other lady said, but what I like to have my clients do towards the end of the year and throughout the year, especially if we're building like self-worth, confidence, is writing a list of things that I'm proud of myself for. I think this is sometimes if you're working on a root cause of like improving your self-worth or confidence, go way far back. Go way far back as far as you can. And I tell my clients to keep this as a running list, whether it's in your notes app or a document that you can easily access, to download kind of everything. It can be something super small. Like I told the barista that I wanted my drink remade, and normally I would just drink it and not want to ruffle any feathers or upset anybody. To I got that promotion. To I saw a lot of you passed SHRM exams this year. Congrats, that's awesome. So things that you're proud of yourself for, because like Dr. Simone was saying, our brains tend to focus on the negatives and things that we didn't accomplish. And you can retrain your brain. You can retrain your brain to look at the positives, to look at all that you've accomplished by seeing it in writing and going to that list and reminding yourself of like, oh yeah, I did do all those things. And like she was saying, preparing yourself for the new year. I did all those things. I can do all of these things in 2025. I also think it's important to talk about defining how you define success. So a lot of people have an unspoken subconscious definition of success, and a lot of times it's not actually even their own definition, but a definition society puts on us, old programming from parents or a critical boss or teacher from the past even. And we are measuring ourselves subconsciously, we're not aware of it, against this definition all year long throughout our lives. And I want people to pause and reflect on what would success look and feel like for 2025. And that should be a healthier benchmark for you to achieve versus I want the promotion, I want the money. Like, again, do you want the promotion because it's going to make you feel fulfilled, like you're going to have influence, like you want to empower people? Or do you want their promotion because you feel like you should get it because that's what society tells us, or other people are saying, go get that promotion? So it's really about redefining. I do this around my birthday too. A lot of times that's when it comes up for people, is when we turn certain age, or just the fact that we hit a birthday of like, I should have accomplished X by this age. We have this definition of what success looks like even by an age that we turn, and whose definition is that, right? So it's just a great time to pause and analyze.
I particularly like the idea that you're going to do this around your birthday and around New Year. If you give you at least just one more beat to do it, and certainly write it down. What a great note! I mean, what a great idea! There's such a power in the written that it's you can look at it again, even just a sticky note. I did this today.
Right.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, what about writing down what others did like especially as a leader, writing down some of the positive reflections for the people you lead? Is that something that you might think of?
Definitely, definitely, especially if you're a leader, knowing how your staff has grown
Mm,
while you were a leader to them, while they were reporting to you, is a huge win because not everyone can do effective leadership. We do know that a lot of companies, one of the biggest problems they have is not being able to promote and prepare the right people for leadership positions. So since that's, my field of study, I used to teach management at the University of Miami, and I used to deal with leaders all the time. One of the things that we saw is that leaders are usually unequipped for the role. They are promoted based on the longevity of the role, not their skills, and that's why companies like this exist, which is great. But at the same time, if you're a leader and you're trying to grow, and if you're my coach, if I was your coach, I will tell you you need to write down the development of your team as part of your accomplishments because it's a very tough work to do. You're not only dealing with performance improvement, but you're also dealing with mindset, you're dealing with teamwork, you're dealing with collaboration. There is a lot of skills that are not tangible skills, but they make all the difference in terms of how much results you can achieve in a certain role while you're working for a company and yourself, because when you grow as a leader, you grow within yourself too.
yeah, I agree. All right, let's go to another topic here. So for many of us, I'm going to start with Dr. Simone, if you don't mind. For many of us, 2025 wasn't a great year. How can we find some positives when reflecting on challenging times?
Really think that this is an opportunity for us to look for them. I think what happens to us is that we get into this, like, you kind of glance out, like imagine you're at a beach, you glance out at the sand and it's kind of like, okay, whatever, it's sand, right? So in our lives, we glance out at the year, we're like, oh my gosh, okay, whatever, it was a year, it was that year. But if you are looking for treasures on the beach, you've got to search, right? You've got to get really deliberate and search. And so that's what I like to encourage people to do, is to turn back to 2024 or to any part of your life and actually search for them. When I do my talks, I usually bring up this picture on the wall and I say, look through this picture and look for everything that's yellow. And the audience goes crazy. And I'm like, make it all dramatic, find yellow, like it's so important. And they're like, yeah. And then I take the picture down and I say, tell me everything that was blue. And they're like, what? You made a mistake. You meant yellow. I'm like, no, tell me what was blue. And they're like, we don't know what was blue. We weren't looking for that. And I'm like, exactly. So what we need to do is look for what it is that we want to find. So even when the years are difficult, or there's a time or a season or something going on in the workplace that's really challenging, if we then challenge ourselves to be more deliberate and intentional about looking for those treasures, or looking for what it is we want to find, and looking for scenarios that echo the emotions we want to have. I hear us talking about our energy and our emotions a lot right now. If I want to feel happy, I've got to be on the lookout for things that help me to feel happy, because the automatic suggestion out there in the sand is just kind of like misery and like same old, and it's like, so I have to be deliberate in looking for it. And that would be the simplest, but probably one of the best pieces of advice. And you can, again, with the power of the written word, turn around and like write it out. Like, what are you finding every day? What are you remembering and recalling from 2024 when you really search for it?
And maybe there's a habit of looking for it and writing it down that sort of combines some of these thoughts. I love it. All right, so let's talk about goal setting. There are so many ways to approach goal setting. Dante, I'd love to get your thoughts on what are some key tips we can use to get goal setting right.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say that traditional goal setting methods leave out two key things, which is generally why we're not as successful in accomplishing those goals, whether they're personal or professional. And a lot of us use like New Year's resolutions as a time to set some goals. The two things I think people forget is the why you want this goal. And it's about finding the root why. So if I were to ask you, okay, I see that you have a goal to get healthier, go to the gym more in 2025. Why do you want that goal? Well, I want to lose weight. I want to look good. I want to feel good. Those are great reasons why. But on the days when your bum doesn't want to leave the couch and go to the gym, that's not going to be enough motivation to get you to go. The root cause, when I've done this exercise with my clients, I ask them why 5 times. Why do you want that goal? What would it make you feel? And then they say, okay, well, I want to be healthier because it'll make me feel more energetic. Why do you want that? What would that make you feel? And you get to the root cause 5 times. You get to the subconscious reason, the reason they're not actively aware of unless you go looking for it. And it's like, I want to be around to watch my kids grow up, and I want to play, football with them in the front yard, and I want to run around, and maybe I'm an older parent and I'm going to need extra energy, right? And it's like, wow, the power of the energy you want to show up and be present as a parent versus like, I want to feel good in my clothes. They're all good reasons, but can you see where one is going to help make you feel more motivated on the days when you run out of discipline and motivation? Because those are finite resources. They don't last forever. The other one is embodiment. So acting as if you already have that thing, showing up with that energy, showing up with that self-talk. So if you want that promotion next year, how would that version of you show up to work? Would they show up a few minutes earlier? Would they look professionally? Would they follow up on that email in a more timely manner? Or would they procrastinate if it's something difficult? So embodying the version of you who has the things that you say you want to accomplish. I think if you can hone in on those 2 things, you're going to be unstoppable for 2025.
That's what we want. We want to be unstoppable. I love it. Let's keep on the theme of goals, but Dr. Capayan, I would love to hear. So we talked about energy. We just heard Dante talk about energy in a bit as a key theme. So how do goals help us channel and direct energy within ourselves, and maybe more importantly, with those around us?
So I really loved what Dante said, because as it relates to energy, right? And one of the exercises that I love to do with my clients is very much related to what you said, but I call it like a letter from your future self. And we do this exercise, and it has worked with managers, with leaders, with college students, where you really dive deep into the version of you that you want to become. So we focus on identity. Every year, at the end of 2025, who are you as a person? Are you a person who commits to things and also finish the things and like that you say you're going to do? Are you a person who's on time? What things do you have as a person that makes you you? So I focus a lot on identity development, and then we're going to give her a name. And this is why this is important, especially when we're talking about energy, right? Our brain is supposed to protect us, right? And sometimes when we're talking about goals and setting goals and bringing that energy into 2025, sometimes we carry that old energy with us and we cannot see past who we are to achieve things that are greater than us. So we give that version of us that we want to become a name, so that when we are going through tough times and we want to bring that energy into what we're doing right now, we say, how will she approach this? Because I already know that Marisol wouldn't approach it this way. Marisol will self-sabotage in this type of a scenario because I saw the patterns that I had in 2024. But she, that person who I created in my mind at the end of 2025, she will handle it that way. So that allows yourself to separate from that other persona that we created, and we can bring that energy into everything that we're doing every single day when we're trying to achieve that goal. And that you can bring her whenever you are struggling with being that version of yourself that is the ultimate mother who you want to become, or the loving mother. She's a loving mother, maybe, or somebody who doesn't get frustrated easily with her kids, right? Then you know that she will be that way. So you bring that energy here and you say, okay, how will she do it? I'm going to act like her. And the more you act like her, you become her. The more you act with that energy, you start adopting that energy. And the goal is that at the end of that transformation of that year, you become her. And that's how you start growing. So I see goal development more as an identity development, because when we set goals, we want to feel something, just like Dante said, but we also want to become something. And that becoming, I think, is super important, because we know we have it inside of us. We just have a lot of patterns, past experiences, traumas, behavior that prevent us from doing that. And by creating that distance, we can become that person without having all those baggage and ties holding us back.
Can I jump in on that, Dr. Capella?
Please do, but just the amount of energy coming out of the screen at me right now is great. But Dr.
Dr.
Simone, please add. Please
Of
add.
course, Dr. Capitan, that was amazing. And Dante, what you were
Okay.
saying before about the energy, I'm just like, all of this is like getting like I'm married together into this such a powerful concept. And I just wanted to add that when we come from a little bit more of like the quantum space and start looking into the quantum science, quantum physics, we start to realize, so the way this energy builds from both what Dr. C has said and also what Dante has said is when we have a clear intention, when we're seeing something clearly and we're training the brain and the brain's got a picture, and then we elevate this emotion, this energy. What do we want to feel? Who do we want to be? What's that quality? What's that character? And we elevate that and let the body sample it. The combination of what we're seeing and what we're feeling is the formula for our body to, number one, record it. Like we'll actually record the program. So you're changing the software in your brain. You're actually making neurological connections. So this is not one of those like, think good and then feel good and then everything great. No, no, no. We're talking about really biochemical changes are happening. Chemical signatures are releasing from the body. Sorry, y'all, I'm getting excited. So like all the things are kind of
I love this. Go ahead.
like the chemical signatures are flowing through your body to match. So now you're making actual biological changes in your body. So how does that affect the energy? I'm now more motivated because intrinsically I have hormones and chemicals flowing through my body that are encouraging me and uplifting me, these happy hormones. And now I'm actually rewiring the brain. I am now retraining my actions, my behaviors, my thoughts. I'm going to start creating new patterns. And that energy is actually in a field that's around the human body that is scientifically measurable. So now other people around me will be impacted by that field. So now I'm helping myself. And I'm also having a very clear and visceral physical impact on the environment around me. And this stuff really, really works. It's, I want to say magical, but then that takes the science out of it. I want it to, it's very clearly proven and it's real and it's really powerful. And I wanted to just piggyback one more time on Dr. Kapajan's story. There was a client that I had and she sat there and she had a problem to solve. And I asked her the question. She's like, I don't know. I can't make decisions. I can't solve problems. I'm indecisive. And I'm like, well, when did you decide to be indecisive? And she's like, don't do that to me, Dr. Simone. Don't do that to me. And I'm like, no, you decided very clearly to be indecisive. And so she's like, stop. I go, okay, let's pick some other qualities. Just pick qualities that you wish you had. Look at movie star. I don't care. You're not becoming another person in this case, but you're going to borrow from this like long list of qualities that we all can pick from. And I want you to pick some. And then I'm like, she's like, okay. And then like Dante said, I said, embody it. I go, literally sit in front of me right now like that person. And you just kind of slowly saw her body morph and her posture change. And then I asked her the questions again, the ones that she was indecisive about. And I'm like, do you think blah, blah, blah? And he's like, no. And would you blah, blah, blah? Yes. Do you think you deserve blah, blah, blah? No. And what are you going to do about it? Probably blah, blah, blah. And then she like opened her eyes as if she heard her own voice, like, did I answer that? I'm like, yes, honey, I didn't answer it, right? So it was really great to watch her borrow those qualities, step in and embody it, and then just watch how she changed and became her right then and there. So it really works. I just had to jump on what you both were saying. It was so juicy. I couldn't.
Powerful.
So powerful. And I love how you talk about it like magic, but it's science, right? I mean, this is not made up stuff. This is, I mean,
Data.
you're studying it, right?
Yep. Data driven.
I love it. Now we're talking about goals, and we just talked about choosing who you want to be, right? Which is an exercise in autonomy, right? I want to be this person. Let me define who he or she is, and let me become them. I love that. I love that idea and thought. But now sometimes in professional settings, goals are just handed to you, right, by a CEO or a manager. So how can we find that autonomy and agency when we're part of this broader organization's objectives? Dante, you would allow, I'm going to call on you next if you don't mind. How would you think about that?
Okay, what I would focus on as a leader, especially, you're going to be given tasks, goals that are passed down from you from the people above. And sometimes it can be challenging to get on board with those. So some of the things that you can do is to first acknowledge the challenge. Name the challenge for you. I find this challenging to yourself. I find this challenging because why? It's going to be difficult. People aren't going to want to do it. Whatever narratives, limiting beliefs, or stories that you have around it, write those down, acknowledge it. A lot of times what happens where we stuff our feeling down, we don't sit and reflect, we're not intentional, we're not mindful. Like, I'm going to go ahead and do this, but I really don't want to be doing it. And this creates this incongruence and imbalance that if we're talking about energy, you know, and that being scientific, and people can see that, right, on certain levels, people can feel that. So you're setting you and your team up, I don't want to say for failure, but not as strong of a success if you can get yourself on board first and foremost. So acknowledge a challenge, work to reframe it. So I find this challenging because X, but Y, right? I find this challenging because I'm telling myself it's going to feel really impossible. But I think me and my team can eventually figure it out. We're going to do our best, right? I think it's challenging because X, but Y. Then you can work on understanding the why. Just as it's important for you to understand your deep reason why, go to the leadership and say, you know, from a place of understanding, not to be challenging, but like, hey, can you help me understand why this goal is important for like the overall organization? If leaders are not communicating that to you, go look for it, go ask for it. That's going to help you feel more confident about this goal and why you need to be encouraging your team to get on board with it as well. And then lastly is to find the alignment. So what aspects of that goal can you align with your values, with goals that you have? Like maybe this is going to challenge you in a big way, but you have a desire to learn and grow in this organization. You just got a gift. You just got a gift in the form of a challenge to grow as a leader, to work through a goal that might be challenging for you, and to bring your team alongside of you. And I think that's overall going to provide you with growth opportunities. So try and find the alignment to shift your perspective about it.
Well said. I like the idea of challenging up for the why too, when you don't understand it. You just have to, if your CEO or leader is telling you to do something, you don't know why, you owe it to them to ask. So I have one more question before we get to the audience's questions, which I think we're going to have a lot of with this crew. Dr. Capihan, if you don't mind leading us off, a year could be a long time. I think it's 365 days, last I checked. It's easy to lose focus and get diverted on our way toward big goals. How can we build momentum that will carry us well into 2025?
Again, love the question. I will tell you the biggest thing that I always tell my clients is you need to shorten those goals. If you are trying to achieve, let's say that is a monetary goal and you want to make $100,000 more by next December, then what does that mean that you have to achieve in a week? I always try to break the goal into 52, into, you know, what are the quarterly goals? What are the weekly goals? What are the monthly goals? Because you need to look forward to something. It is very, it doesn't motivate you to look at a goal that is so far away, because a lot of things happen between January 1st and December 25th. Things will come up. And when those things come up, it's going to be hard to stay on track. You're going to be questioning yourself. Things are going to fall off the rail. We're humans, and those things are bound to happen. So putting those goals into achievable daily goals, even if it's daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, can give you a lot of dopamine rush, and it gives you a lot of excitement, and you can see your progress. The more you see your progress, the more motivated you're going to be to continue achieving those goals. So I think that will be my biggest takeaway on achieving yearly goals. It's like to not achieve them, or at least work on them, but achieve things weekly, achieve the things daily. Write down on your list, on your daily list, what do I have to achieve today that will make a difference in my yearly goal? Every week, what do I have to achieve this week that is going to give me a step closer to achieve my yearly goal? Every single day, you should do something that moves you closer to achieving that goal. And that creates not only a great habit, it makes you focus on the things that matter to you, and it makes things achievable. It allows you to change the course if you feel like you're not making progress. For me, I think it's the best way to do them. I'm running the New York Marathon in November, and I have never run in my life. And I have my daily goals, my weekly goals, my monthly goals. It's like I can't leave it to the last minute. So that's the way that I've been able to, that I will tell my clients to achieve their goals.
Inspirational. Good luck with the marathon. Dr. Simone, I'd love to hear your thoughts on goal achievement and how to keep them attainable throughout the year.
Absolutely. I think one of the good things to keep in mind, as you guys will see, I love visuals and talking to the brain with some pictures here. So I like to think of the concept of millimeter shifts, that when you make these tiny shifts, like if you're in an airplane, right? So imagine that you're in an airplane and you turn that wheel as a pilot, just the tiniest little millimeter. Like at first you're only a millimeter off course, then you're more, then you're more, then you're more. But as you go on, let's say throughout the year, you are going to find yourself in a completely different trajectory. So I think when I think of goals, I think let's make those millimeter shifts in our goals. Let's make the millimeter steps to accomplish the goals and keep them small and achievable so that we feel like we can reach for them weekly, daily, monthly, quarterly, just like Dr. Kapiyan was saying. So for me, that's a big thing, is like, don't try to necessarily bite off the whole thing at once. Go in those small increments, just like Dr. Steve was saying, but also celebrate. Like as you actually are achieving these things, celebrate these wins, small or big, because we get very dramatic when something is negative. It's like, oh my gosh, and I can't believe it failed, right? And we talk about it, we call the best friend about it, we like, we really milk those negative moments, which then have a big impact on the chemicals that we're flowing in the body and the way that we're responding and the way we're programming the brain. If we can switch that on its head and say, wow, I had a win, even if it's this tiny, a little millimeter win, if I can kind of explode that in my mind and be like, wow, I did it. Wow, I'm so proud of myself. This is one step of many, this is a millimeter in a bigger picture. I'm so happy. This brings me that much closer. And we can call our friend and celebrate that. Then I think we start to reinforce that success. We release that dopamine rush that Dr. Kapiyan was talking about. And again, it's a programming thing. Like our brain is now seeing these pictures and feeling the corresponding emotions and saying, wow, Simone, you're able to make this happen. Wow, Simone, you're able to have these successes. Like this is a part of you. You are capable. And as I keep that program running, I'm going to find myself feeling more and more capable. And then throughout the year, now the motivation is more natural and the drive is more natural and the achieving is more achievable, if you will, if that makes sense. The achieving is more achievable. You know what I mean? So
I do
yeah,
know
so
what you mean. It
we're
makes tons
helping
of sense.
ourselves. Yeah.
I love this conversation. I could probably spend all day talking to you three. Unfortunately, they're going to cut me off at 3 o'clock Eastern, so we're gonna move on just a bit here. So I think in the we're going to do some open Q&A, but it's going to be a little bit briefer than usual, I believe. But while we're getting ready, everyone, if you want to ask a question or attempt to get it going, go to the Q&A and type in your question. We'll do our best to get to some of those. But there's a lot to talk about here, and Maddie P is going to be back. We're going to continue this conversation. So prospective attendees can join Maddie P for a mastermind session. And our own Emily Wilbrandt will also be there to be sort of the people ops voice in the room. So please sign up if you are interested in that. It's limited space, so sign up quickly and we'll try to get you all in. People like it. So as you can see on the screen, people who attend the session tend to get a lot out of it and enjoy it. Even more, we have things coming your way from our guests. So I want to talk a little bit about what those things are before we round out with the Q&A. So first of all, thank you all for being here. Dr. Simone is going to be, there's going to be a link in the chat coming from Rachel for an event that's actually tonight. So if you want to take a look at that before our follow-up email goes out tomorrow with the rest of our panelists' takeaways, take a look at the link that's coming into the chat now. And Simone there's a corporate speaking info and speaking request form. By the way, plugging isn't my best thing. I'm sorry for that. Let's see. Dante has a guide to share with us for everyone here today to help you navigate the challenges and opportunities of the year ahead with confidence, clarity, and impact. And even more timely, Dr. Kapiyan, you're going to all receive the keynote speaking and executive leadership facilitation request form. So anyone can require about her services. If you do fill out that form by the end of day tomorrow, you can request a signed copy of her book for free. So that offer is super timely. The offer for the free book expires at midnight tomorrow. So head over there as soon as you get the email. And also subscribe to her LinkedIn newsletter on women in leadership. Lastly, if you want to hear more of me and see what I used to look like when I had a long beard, episode 75 of Lead the People, where Maddie P and I discuss my take on leadership philosophy, managing your mindset, and active listening. So those are some takeaways. Hopefully y'all can take advantage of those. I think they'd all be amazing. In particular, we got some timely ones, so act fast. And we are also giving away a book. So everyone who attends this session, there's a book giveaway, Dr. Maddie P's Expand the Circle book. And the winner, I guess I'm supposed to announce it now, is Amanda. And I apologize if I say this wrong. I'm Jim Spartalozzi, so I have a special place in my heart for mispronunciations of names. But Amanda Rashley, if I said it right, I hope I did. If I didn't, I apologize. But Amanda Rashley, you won the book. And let's see, we're going to go to 3 questions. We're going to try to get at least 3 questions in and ask them quickly. 10 minutes left to go. All right, here we go. The question reads, love the happy feelings discussion. How do you deal with negative people who do not like your happy hormones? The dream stealers, naysayers, for example. All right, we're going to just go to one. Since you talked the most about brain chemistry, Dr. Simone, how would you answer that question?
All right. I would definitely say that when we get to the deeper levels of the quantum, the truth is that when we are in that state of our happy hormones flowing, it does actually have an impact on our external environment. It does affect the people around us. It does affect the way we align with them, the way they respond to us. So perceivably, and the science suggests that if we are really in a particular state of mind and a state of vibration and a state of, electromagnetic field with the certain chemicals flowing, we would be a match to the better version of people, and we would not really experience and interact with those people as much. That's just a much deeper level of science, because obviously we work with people and we have to be there with them. So that's where the depths of the science can take you, and that would take a little bit more explanation, which maybe at my masterclass tonight we can dive a little deeper into that. But ultimately, there is still power in you focusing on what your capabilities are, what your wins are, the people and the things that are positive around you. And there's a phrase we say, being greater than your external environment. Then they say that true greatness is this ability to turn up your inner environment in a way that we are not allowing the external environment to determine and depict how we think, how we feel, and how we act. Instead, we create that within. And there's a little bit of work involved in that, but that's where the real power is to be able to navigate internal environment regardless of your external environment. But I want to
focus on what you can control, right? Which is you and your internal environment, not the negative naysayers. I think that's what the question said.
100%.
Love the answer. This one's a little deep. Dr. Capayan, I'm going to ask you to answer this one. I struggle with this isn't me, but this is an audience member. I struggle with confidence at work and also have triggers of fear of failure or termination, which causes me to react to others I work with defensively. My boss, who is also aware that I have a tension with others, even though I feel I'm trying to get along with everyone, I feel like it has caused damage to my reputation. I'd like your tips and approach on how do I change or reverse the damage to my reputation.
So reversing the damage of your reputation requires evidence that you're not that person anymore. Like people get that's like building trust, right? In order for you to build trust, you need to show evidence with actions that you're somebody to be trusted. So following up with commitments, right? So let's say that you had an issue with your reputation in terms of people don't believe anymore that you're going to say the things that you say you're going to say, that you say you're going to do, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to create these relationable contracts, that's how I call it, where you're going on purpose to say that you're going to do certain things, and then you're going to follow through with them. So how do you know you're making progress in building that trust is that you're going to get to the point where you say that you're going to do things and people are going to believe it. Like at the beginning, they're not going to believe it because their reputation is damaged. But by making the action and making note of like, I am going to do actions that are counter to the reputational damage and follow through and keep a tab on that, little by little with time, you're going to be able to repair the reputation. And repairing the reputation is sometimes very hard because it's based on trust, but it's not impossible. You just have to, don't get discouraged. Make sure you take action. Actions are much, much louder than words. So make sure that you follow through. You have to become a person that follows through on the things that you want to repair. You cannot say, because you by just saying that you're going to do it and not doing it, you're just going to damage your reputation more, because you don't have that that tank of trust with those people anymore. So you have to rebuild it again.
I love that. It's going to take time. It's going to take committing to things and following through. And as I've heard said wisely by someone who isn't me, trust belongs to the giver, not the receiver, right? So it's given to you. You have to earn it. Now, Dante, we're going to probably only have time for one more question. I'm going to ask you this one. If my leaders aren't focused on goal setting, how can I help make that a focus for them?
If my leaders aren't focused on how can I make it a focus for them?
Yeah.
I would start by broaching that conversation. What are our goals for this year? You know, I don't see that we have any. Why is that? Can I be a part of that solution, part of that conversation? I think also to oversimplify it, because I know we're kind of out of time, is set your own goals for you and your team. You know, what operational or strategic goals do you want to set for your department or your part of the organization? And you know, celebrating the short-term wins, like we talked about, building in ways to celebrate and breaking those goals into smaller, more bite-sized pieces. But having to manage up as a leader, even informally, you don't need a leadership title to have those conversations. They can be difficult, they can be challenging. Hire a coach. There's some great ones here that can help you navigate those conversations.
Hire a coach is a great answer. I love it. I also just the idea, you're going to have to be brave if that's what's happening to you, right? You might just have to look up to the folks that are above you and say, hey, we need some goals. Let's set them. And you could certainly set your own and share them. Hey, I set these goals for me. How might these align with the greater organizational goals? So what a great conversation. I'm so lucky to have had you three. Thank you all for joining us. I'll just let everyone know again, it was so great. I want to make sure everyone heard me with your follow-up items. So if you haven't heard, there's going to be a link that already is in the chat for Simone's event tonight. So be there or be square, as we used to say back in the 50s. I hope everyone is there. Dr. Capian is so kindly offering books for folks who request information about her keynote speaking and executive leadership facilitation. Make sure you take advantage of that before, I think it's midnight tomorrow. And then Dante has kindly offered us all a guide to share with you to help you navigate the challenges and opportunities of the year ahead with confidence, clarity, and impact. I love those three words together. What a great session. Now, we're going to do it again. You won't be me, unfortunately. Well, probably fortunately for y'all, you're going to have Dr. Matt back, Matty P. But we're going to be talking about, will they stay or will they go, especially for all the people operations, HR leaders in the room. I know you're all thinking about, as we turn the clock to 2025, that's often a time when you're at a great risk of losing some of your best people. So come on January 22nd at 2:00 Eastern time. We're going to go deep into that topic, and I'd love to have you all there. I hope you enjoyed today's session. I know I sure did. Thank you again to our panelists. You have all been simply amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Trying.